Hello everyone and welcome to the first game we'll be showing from this year's Tata Steel tournament. It's a tournament that's been going on for almost 100 years, close to 90, closing in on 90. It's been going on since 1938 and well, it had different names over the course of history. If you remember from the year 2000 to year 2010, it was called the Chorus Tournament. Then from 2011 it became the Tata Steel chess tournament, and it's incredibly strong. It's at the beginning of the year, but already one of the most awaited tournaments of the year, as it features most often the absolute strongest players in the world. As usual, when someone organizes a tournament, it will feature local players as well. So we're gonna go into that a little bit later. But even though the highest rated player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, is not participating this year, the tournament does feature two world champions, open section world champion Ding Liren and women's world champion Zhu Wenjun. And I thought it'd be fun to showcase the previous winners of the tournament ever since it became the Chorus tournament. So here they are from 2011 when Hikaru Nakamura won it, then in 2012 Levon Aronian, then Magnus Carlsen in 2013, again in 2014 Levon Aronian, then Magnus 2 years in a row. Then in 2017, Wesley So, then again Magnus Carlsen in 2018 and 2019, then Fabiano Caruana in 2020, Jordan Van Foreest in 2021, Magnus in 2022, and Anish Giri last year in 2023. And now we have 2024 edition, and already not all of the games have finished while I'm recording this, but round one was really action-packed, and I'm sure you guys will have a lot of suggestions. But I had to start with one, so I decided it to be this one, local hero Max Varberdam versus two times World Championship challenger Jan Nepomniachtchi. Let's check it out. Quite a wild game. So Max with the white pieces opens with pawn to d4, and Max pretty much, regardless of whether he wins or loses, he always plays an interesting game. I think twice already I chose his game sort of to be the game of the year. He always plays some sort of a brilliant queen sacrifice where he dazzles everyone, and you guys always enjoy those. So very much looking forward to seeing what he's able to do against the absolute top opposition. So okay, d4, knight to f6, and now pawn to c4. We have pawn to e6, sorry, not the Budapest Gambit, pawn to e6, knight to f3, going for the anti-Nimzo Indian, maybe asking are you interested in playing a Bogo Indian, but no, Jan just plays pawn to d5, and he transposes into the Queen's Gambit decline. We have knight to c3, d captures on c4, and now pawn to e4. The Vienna variation, we have pawn to b5, and now advancing the pawn further with pawn to e5. Knight to d5, sacrificing the b5 pawn, and Max grabs it. So knight captures on b5, and now knight to b6, defending the pawn on c4. It's a very well-known line, and many players enjoy playing it. Bishop to e2, we have knight to c6, now putting more pressure on d4, and bishop to e3. We have bishop to e7, and now knight back to c3 right away. More popular is pawn to e3, but okay, of course, Max had to have something prepared against Nepo. We have bishop to b7, and now pawn to a3. And it's a very nice move as it takes control over the b4 square, but then again it weakens the b3 square, which means this knight can come to b3 at its earliest convenience. And there are a couple of games that reach this position. For example, queen to d7 is a known move, but Jan goes knight to a5 right away, and it is now as of move 11 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how Max continues here. We have queen to c2, now comes queen to d7. Nepo hinting at maybe castling queenside, although yeah, we still don't know. But it is the most probable solution, as you do have the queen here, you'd have the possibility of the knight coming to g5, maybe some h4 action. So castling queenside is the way to go. Rook to d1, underlining the rook nicely with the queen here, and now pawn to f5 by Nepo. And that's the thing by offering your opponent to capture en passant. It's possible to only do it on the move where it's possible. So e captures on f6 is possible now, but never again after this move has been made. So unless you do it, this pawn will remain on f5. So of course it's best to do it. E captures on f6, g captures, and now knight to e4. We have queen to a4, and this always I like to mention that it reminds me of the old Josh Waitzkin saying that be careful of the square left behind, or you always have to be mindful of the square left behind. When the knight was on c3, it had control over the a4 square, but now even though you've improved, or sort of improved the position of your knight, you've kind of lost control over the a4 square, and Nepo immediately takes advantage of that. Queen to a4. And the queen trade might not be terrible, you know, in particular situations, but here it would be kind of bad, because now the knight on e4 would be undefended and the pawn on b2 would be undefended. So instead, after this queen to a4 move, we have queen back to b1, and now Nepo castles queen side. Knight to c5, attacking the queen and the bishop, so you will either win this bishop or this bishop, and Nepo decides to trade on c5. Bishop captures on c5, d captures, and now knight to d5, putting more pressure on that bishop here, and here Max finally decided to castle. Regardless of where he castles or not, Nepo's next plan is to put rooks on the g file and go after that king side. So Max does castle kingside, and now rook d to g8. And here, sort of why I named the title Ghosts of Tata Steel, as I'm sure we'll see many more. When you have a situation like this, okay, you have castle kingside, you have your opponent's rook on g8 on a nice semi-open g file, you have this bishop controlling this diagonal, you know that those knights will move at some point, the g2 pawn will become very weak. But defending prematurely in chess is well, sort of a recipe for disaster. Here you have to play something like queen to e4 or rook to d4, and then, okay, queen to e4 does look really weird because the knight is here, but there is no great square for the knight, and also you're just threatening queen captures on e6, which will come with tempo, so you don't really have to worry about this. Queen to e4 is a beautiful centralizing move. However, Max played pawn to g3, sort of to get rid of this idea of rook or bishop ever capturing on g2, but by playing this, he also created a target that Nepo is able to hone in on, and he immediately does. Pawn to h5, and now h4 is coming, and there's no good way to handle that. If you play h4, then you weaken the g3 pawn, and then just, for example, captures, and rook captures on g3 will be huge problem for white, and this will be winning for black. So instead, after pawn to h5, we have rook to d4, trying to stop pawn to h4 this way, but now queen to c6. Even more problems arise by opening up this diagonal and by playing this g3 move. So, okay, again, h4 has to be stopped somehow. We have rook to h4, but now knight captures on e3. And while knight captures on e3 is a wonderful move by Nepo, I just want to show you a line that is even superior to Jan's line, but only maybe in well, style points. So I don't know, I want to show it to you. Rook to g4, and what do you play now? Okay, rook captures on g4, h captures, you attack the knight, and the knight moves. Knight to d4, attacks the queen, so you don't give black time to move the knight, and checkmate the black king. And now look at this, knight to f4. The black queen is threatening checkmate while also offering the queen. And there's no other move. You have to play knight captures on c6. Now comes knight captures on e2 with check. King to g2, and now not bishop captures with check, that would allow f3, but first knight captures on f6, because the knight needs to come to e5 in order for the position to be winning. And now after pawn to f3, of course you want to stop any checks here. Knight to e5, going for that f3 pawn with a triple attack, and there's really nothing white can do here after. Let's say bishop g1, you will capture on f3 with check, king to f2, and now pawn to f5, and that's pretty much it. The knight can come to g4 with check, to d3 with check, and the white king just gets destroyed here. There's really nothing for white to do here. So while it is incredibly impressive, Jan goes for a less forcing line. He plays knight captures on e3 right away, f captures, and now rook to g4. So not starting with rook to g4 right away, but now queen to c1. Just getting the queen to help out with the defense, but now of course what was planned, rook captures on h4, point being that the knight on f3 cannot move as you're gonna get checkmated here, so g captures on h4 has to be played, and now just knight to b3, Nepo brings more pieces into the attack. We have queen to c3, now comes knight captures on c5, collecting material as of course your position is completely winning. Queen captures on f6 was played, now rook to g8 with check. If you go to f2, then of course just knight to e4 check picks up the queen, so you can't do that. King to h1 was played, and now queen to e4. Again, just playing solid moves, not much for Max to do here. Rook to g1 was played, and Nepo just removed the rook from the g file, played rook to d8, and he was in this position on move 29 that Max Warmerdam resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. His position is terrible. There's nothing he can do against this beautiful queen bishop battery along this diagonal, and even if you somehow kill the attack, even if you trade queens off, let's say with queen to f4, Jan will happily do it. He will trade queens and just play rook to e2, and it's game over. The knight cannot move, the bishop will fall next. There's no square for the bishop. If you move the bishop, then again you lose the knight, and if you defend the bishop, then it's a matter of simple rook captures on e2, and after rook captures, bishop captures on f3 with check. Okay, you can block check with the rook, but after captures, it's knight against, poor king and those pawns, and even knight e3 will eliminate the b pawn, create a passed c pawn, and that's it. So it doesn't really require any attention or even maybe considering to play this position. So yeah, Max resigned, nothing to do here, and a wonderful start for Jan Nepomniachtchi in this tournament, a win with the black pieces against a very strong local player. And this is the game I chose. As usual, Jan plays very interesting chess, very active chess. Max also always plays very interesting, very active chess, and this is the result. Okay, maybe Nepo could have chosen that crazy line that I've shown, but no reason to sacrifice your queen. It's a classical game and a really big tournament, and if you can't really see checkmate or see that you will be able to fully commit to this, or maybe completely immobilize your opponent, Jan's choice was definitely the better option. But yeah, very nicely done by Jan. And even though that game against women's world champion Zhu Wenjun and Anish Giri was still happening when I started recording this, and they started playing at 1 p.m. Central European time, and the game was still going on at 8 p.m. Central European time, so the game lasted well over 7 hours. I will now check what happened in the game, so for those of you who are not interested in results of other games, don't watch the video anymore, but I will check it out now. So yeah, Wei Yi defeated Dunchenko, Alireza Firouzja defeated Jordan Van Foreest, Ding Liren and Vidit drew their game. Zhu Wenjun lost to Anish Giri, but I did watch the game a little bit, and yeah, it was a pretty crazy game. Zhu Wenjun was better in some positions, then Anish was better, then it was a draw. All in all, crazy game where Anish was able to really grind out the full point. Gukesh and Abdusattorov featured a beautiful queen sacrifice, but I will not tell you how their game ended, as I might show it, so I don't want to spoil it too much. You've seen the game Nepo versus Max. Nepo won a very nice game, and Praggnanandhaa versus Maksutlu ended in a draw. So those are the results of round one. Full point to Nepo, Alireza, Anish, and Wei Yi. Half a point to everyone else, and 0 point for the moment Jordan Van Foreest, Dunchenko, Max Warmerdam, and Zhu Wenjun. So if you have any of your favorites, do use hashtag suggestion. Also, I'm mostly gonna cover the master section, but if you have any nice games from the Challengers edition, also use hashtag suggestion, and I will definitely look into it. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry about my voice being a little weird. No idea what's happening, but it is as it is. I do have a 2-year-old daughter, and she constantly brings new viruses from the kindergarten. So what are you gonna do? I would like to thank Welsh Fan, Sasha Vidler, Mark Henley Brennan, Michael Nails, and Frank Banner for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but mostly covering the Tata Steel until it finishes, and it finishes on the 28th of January. At least I think it does. Let me just check. Yep, 28th of January. See you soon.